This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Scott Howell.
Good morning, good neighbors, and welcome to the Good Neighbor Podcast. Welcome, brought to you by the Friends and Neighbors Group of the Greater Chattanooga region. My name is Scott Howell, as the announcer told you, and I'm your host for today. What is the purpose of the Good Neighbor Podcast? To get asked this a lot. Well, basically the purpose of it is just we desire to bring an awareness to the residents living in our communities regarding the locally owned and or operated businesses in the Greater Chattanooga region. You know, as I like to say, from Cleveland to Dalton, from Jasper to Benton, all the small businesses are important. And, you know, small local businesses are the backbone of our communities, and they really need our support. And every local business has a story to tell, and we just want to help them shout it from the rooftops. And so joining me today from the rooftops of our studio is Chris Norwood at 316 Moving Company. And we are so glad to have you on the podcast with us today, Chris.
Thank you for having us.
Well, we are glad to have you and want to learn a little bit more about your company, 316 Moving Company. But before we dive into that, would you like to share anything with us about yourself and your family?
We're just Christian based. We try to be as honest and upfront with our people. And, you know, they're not just a name on the book. We take it personal. We like to get to know these people. A lot of our customers are returning customers because we treat them like they're somebody. They're not just a paycheck.
I heard that. Well, that's good to know, because none of us likes to get treated like a number. That's for sure, right?
Yes.
A number in life. Well, let's just dive in and talk about 316 Moving Company. You told us a little about who you are. Tell us about what you do for folks.
So we offer a full service moving company, moving services. We'll do it all from a lamp to a full house. I've got guys right now that's in Alabama, single truck operation. I only had enough kids to run one truck, so we keep it to a minimum. and we just, like I said, we just take it personal.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what part of Alabama are you in?
They're headed to Mobile right now. They're about 3 hours away.
Oh, wow. I mean, you're talking L.A., lower Alabama.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama, so that's the reason I was asking. But
we're still going balls, even though we're working in Alabama.
Mobile's as south as you can get in southeastern Alabama without being in Florida. So that's way down there.
Yes, sir.
So you said you do small jobs as well as big ones. So sometimes people just need like a piano move. Y'all do that kind of work?
Yes, sir. If it could be moved, with 20 years experience, you really can't throw much at me that I haven't seen before.
Okay.
So we can move it all.
20 years is quite a while, Chris.
Yeah, it's just been a passion. I got into it as a temporary deal, and then I fell in love with it. Just been able to see a smile on people's face when the move's done. You help make their dreams come true, and that's just kind of a special time for them, and it's special for us too to be able to help them do that.
So, Chris, after 20 years of being in the moving business, tell me, brother, do you have the bad back to show for it?
Actually, I do. I've had a couple of back surgeries, and I've had 6 knee surgeries. So, but it's the Lord still blessed us, and it's just something that we're passionate about. And we, I'll stop doing it when I'm in the grave, I reckon.
Well, I take it by you giving honor to God that I believe I understand where the 316 part of the name comes from, right?
Yes, sir. 100%. It's all. We started this business with $200. That's all we had in our name.
Yeah, John 3:16, right? That's where that came from. So,
yes, sir.
If you don't know that scripture, then get you a Bible and go read it. Sure. So tell me about your journey. You mentioned the way you started. Tell us a little bit more about that. How did you get into this?
So I had a job that was based on weather, and the income wasn't steady. And my buddy of mine had referred me to another moving company here local, and it was just to fill in the gaps. And then all of a sudden I found myself just it's one of those things, you've either got it or you don't. And it was just something I was just naturally good at. I ended up being probably more passionate about that than anything in my younger years. And it just kind of grew on me. And when you're able to relate with your customers and just quit being about business and just kind of have fun with them and talk to them like they're somebody, it's not a job when you wake up and go to this house. It's just something you enjoy doing.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have some long-time employees been with you for a while?
My boys have been doing it since they were 13. So when they were out of school for the summer, there wasn't no football camps and none of this. I had them on the moving truck and learning what it's like to put their hands on something and to help people and to give back when you have an opportunity. So Absolutely. That's kind of how that come about.
Yeah. So I take it your sons work for you. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good because they know they're going to get in trouble with Dad when they get home if they don't do it right. Right.
They still run by the rules everybody else plays by.
There you go. Moving, when you hire somebody to move for you, Chris, it's something you either have a really good experience with or you have a terrible experience with. So tell me about some of the myths and misconceptions that you hear from people when you talk to them.
So unfortunately, we've got a lot of folks that's moving cross country right now. They're leaving places like New York and California. And in doing so, they're hiring these big road tractor companies. Because they're cheaper, they can go cross country like that. But what they don't understand is that trailer will be hooked to like 5 different tractors on the way here. So when that stuff arrives broke, who's liable for it?
Oh, yeah, good question.
You're just left with a trailer full of broken stuff, and you're not going to get nowhere with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's the small business. The same guys for us that goes to California and picks up your belongings is going to be the same guys here that unloads them. So if something's broke, you're looking at the guys that done it.
Ah, okay. So you do that. If you've got some – I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chris. Go ahead.
That's the advantage of your small business companies like we are. There's nobody to pawn it off on. We're one truck. We're one family. We're independently owned. So There's no excuses for us. It's us and only us.
So if you got somebody that contacts you and says, I'm moving to Chattanooga, can you come get me from where I'm at and move me to Chattanooga? Y'all do that too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Hey, that's good to know. Good to know for people out there. We're going to be putting this podcast on national podcast platforms, so people all over the country will be able to hear this. So that's good for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's good for you. Well, one of the things that I've had to be moved a few times, and one of the things I've had problems with is the broken stuff. And even though I haven't ever had a company like you were talking about, the long distance type people move me, it's always been local people. But I've had a few broken pieces of furniture. Okay, but the thing that really irritated me the most was the scratches on my furniture because they didn't wrap it right. They didn't wrap it properly. And so, when they didn't, they were scratching it, sometimes just getting it on the truck or getting it, or worse yet, getting it out my door.
Yeah.
So what do you do to alleviate that, Chris?
So we just take pride in our work. We'll wrap it up. Actually, we probably use more quilts than we should, but it's sustained us for, a lot of years. There's not a moving company out there that's perfect, but you got to try to be.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And we don't hire John Doe on the side of the road that's never handled your $3,000 bedroom suite.
Right.
We've been in this game for a long time, and there's not another moving company in Cleveland, Tennessee that can say that they got 20 years experience, because the one I started with 20 years ago is out of business. So all these other pop-up doodads, they got 2, 3, 4 trucks. They're just hiring anybody they can to fill those seats to get a paycheck. I don't want your money that way. I want to do you a good job, and I want you to be happy with what you got before we get paid.
One of the best experiences I had with a moving company was they came in and they insisted before they left the room on my furniture, the room it was sitting in, they insisted on wrapping it with quilts and taping it down. And so that didn't matter what that meant. They explained to me what that meant was no matter how many doorways they have to go through, then when they finally get it out the door outside, it's been quilted all the way. And there's the least amount of the least probability of having scratches and scuffs on it when you get out the door. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, that was great. That's great to know that you handle things that way, because that's it. You know, it's important. We work hard for our belongings. We work hard for furniture and things like that. And like you said, nobody's perfect. We're not claiming anybody to be perfect. Yeah. But we want people to stand behind what they do. And it sounds like that y'all do that.
Yes, if we damage something, we'll own it. We'll cover it. We'll pay for it. We'll do whatever it takes to make it right. Okay.
Well, that's all you can ask for in that respect, because, when it comes to your hard-earned stuff that you work really hard for, then, you just want to make sure that it's taken care of. And if somebody will stand behind it, if there is a mistake made, that's all you can ask for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's speaking of your family. So when everybody's home, nobody's out moving, what do y'all do for fun? What do y'all do amongst your family for a good time?
So my wife and I, we just got back from Alaska. We like to travel a lot. She works from internet, and I work from a cell phone. I take care of the phone calls for, the moving business. So we have that luxury to where we can kind of get away for long weekend adventures and take our phones with us. And we've got a 1979 FJ40 Land Cruiser that we've been working on and just kind of tinkering with it. So we like to hop in that on the Sunday and just go out for, a nice sunny day drive in the mountains with it and just kind of let our hair blow through the wind.
Yeah, me and Chris have the same hair problem. We have just a head full of it.
That's right.
But the joke is we really don't have any hair on our head, but we got some on our chin, don't we, Chris?
Yeah, that's the only place I can grow it seems to be.
I love it. Chris, you're talking about being in the business for 20 years. And obviously, me and you've been around a few more than 20 years ourselves. Have you ever, looking back over your life, have you had any hardships or life challenges that, you come through and you realize, that through the help of God, you made it through it, but it's also made you a stronger and a better person than you were?
Yeah, absolutely. So from about the age of 14 or 15, I started alcohol and drug. And I started then I had my back surgery, and that introduced me at 19-year-old to pain pills. And then it just kind of for 20 years, I wasn't a pleasurable person to be around. I didn't want to be around anybody. I couldn't stand to even be around my family. And I was a drunk. I'd steal anything I could get my hands on, sport my hand. It's just one of those things that I was just to be, for lack of better words, I was a hellion.
Yeah.
And then God started dealing with my heart and started convicting me of it. And for, like I said, 20 years, I had all those addictions. And I went to church and I laid it all down at the altar, and I never had any withdrawals. I never had no cold sweats. I didn't have any of that. I had freedom for the first time in 20 years. And that's where the name for the business come from. He took all that away from me because I was able to give it to him. And took $200 and had a thought. And we bought some business cards and a couple of T-shirts, and it just grew from there. And it's all because of him. It's nothing I've done. It's nothing my wife or my kids have done. God's gave the increase to it. And we've just been privileged to be on this end of it.
That's a beautiful story. Great testimony. I think what that's called, Chris, is called deliverance, ain't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Deliverance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the least I could do is put his name on the side of my truck. And that, you being held accountable, you think about riding around with 316 moving and storage on the side of your truck, and then you pull up somebody's house and destroy everything. That's not going to pan out very. So that holds us accountable too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you overcome all those things, that they're not still plaguing you in your life, because it's bad company, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
If there was one thing, Chris, that you wish people knew about Chris Norwood and 316 Moving Company, but they probably wouldn't know it unless you told it to them, unless you explained it to them. And you'd like to shout it from the rooftops here today, what would that be?
Man, there could be so many things you'd love for people to know, but I seen a post not long ago requesting for high-end movers. Well, with high-end movers, you get the high-end price.
Yeah.
We don't charge near what some of these people in this town does, even though they've got 3 or 4 years experience and we're rolling around with 20 years experience. You don't have to give your arm and your leg away to get your stuff took care of. You just need to find somebody that's in the business for the right reasons.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. So if people want to reach out to you and they should understand not only they're going to get the best, one of the best movers, they're going to get the best price too. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm going to give you just a moment here to tell a little bit more about your details, how people can contact you, whether online or offline. That way they'll know exactly how to reach out to you.
Okay. You can reach us at 423-716-7443. We also have a Facebook page at 316movedandstorage.com. And we have, a website at www.316movedandstorage.com. And then we have a Facebook page. It's 316 Moving and Storage. You can get a hold of us. We've always got our phones on us. It's also our personal phone. So you're not going to be getting hold of a recording. The very ones that's out doing your estimate and is coming to you is the same one that's answering the phones.
Okay.
We're completely in-house, family-owned. Nothing is subbed out to anybody else. And we're also a company that last year, now we're a single truck company, all contained in our home, which is where I'm at now. But we were voted #1 in Chattanooga for the best moving company around. And that says a lot for a one-truck operation against all these other mega movers. I don't know how many moving companies in Chattanooga and Tennessee, but it's several. But for us to be able to go head to head with those guys and for the customers to vote on that and for us to be #1, that says a lot about our customers. It says a lot about our work.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Well, Chris, it was a pleasure meeting you here today, man, and learning more about 360 Moving Company. Thanks for sharing all this with us.
I appreciate you having me. I thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. More than welcome. And to all the good neighbors of the Chattanooga region, after meeting with Chris and learning more about 360 Moving Company, I know he hopes you'll keep him in mind and consider all they have to offer when you need that moving service, whether, like he said earlier, whether it's a small item or whether it's a whole house full of furniture. Keep them in mind, and the things that he's told you here today, all his contact information is here too. And before ending this episode, I'd like to thank you all, the listeners, for taking the time out of your busy day to visit with us at the Good Neighbor Podcast. Always remember to support the locally owned and operated businesses in the greater Chattanooga area, from Cleveland to Dalton, from Jasper to Benton. All you small businesses are important, and all the small communities inside of the great region are very important to us. So this is Scott Howell with the Friends and Neighbors Group. Everyone go out and make this a remarkable day.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpcleveland.com. That's gnpcleveland.com or call 423-380-1984.